Welcome back to the Family Man Racing channel. Before you start this video though, go back, watch the last video, and just skip to 13 minutes and 47 seconds to watch this go down the track. What happened was when it launched, the rear started to spin first, and then can't tell which wheel up here was spinning, but I definitely was losing traction back here first. So I had done some changes to reduce weight in the back, just to reduce it overall, thinking that it didn't matter as much. I have about 57% of the weight on the nose and 43 in the back. And with no prep racing, rear wheel drive, you'd normally want that flip flopped. But I need to keep some traction up front, and then just naturally with weight transfer, it's going to reduce and unload the front. And the front has an open differential. So if it starts to unload, and it could spin one side, and then that one will just spin basically twice the speed as back here, is kind of my understanding, basically, because the transfer case locks the diff in between. So, and then this one wheel would be not moving at all, and one wheel spinning like crazy, maybe the same speed as the rear, maybe twice, maybe 10 times. I have no idea. All I know is it'll like white smoke one of these, and then a little spinning on the back. So long story short, just to get overall weight out of the car, it was easiest to take it off the rear. I had a fiberglass hatch that I had in here. I had meth injection before that I removed. And so totally, that was about 60 pounds, 55, 60 pounds off the back. And unfortunately, the rear spins. So if it's really loose, either just on the street, no burnout, or at some of those tracks, which were that the last track was actually slicker than the street with no burnout, but at the track I did a burnout in glue. So there was just no traction on that surface. And with that surface, then the rear spins. At least that's what it appears. So that's not fiberglass. That's the stock metal hatch again. And that's about the only change so far back here. Next step, I'm going to try this first. So that's halfway. That's about 25, 30 pounds. I can add lead if needed. But again, I don't want to go too far and unload the rear, or unload the front and create more problems than I solve. I could try to tune it out also and be a little softer, but that's the first step. All right, so I also had some oil leaks on my turbo lines. I actually remade the feed lines. That's done already. Anybody that watches my channel before knows that this is how I make my to-do list. So hatch, gone. Weight, question mark. I do need to up the fuel pressure. It is the base duty cycle, or not the duty cycle at like 33 pounds of boost is getting up there. So I have plenty of fuel pump. It's a 7.0 GPM Aeromotive pump. And so I'm gonna up the base fuel pressure and help my injectors out a little bit. I'm also gonna just rotate the tires. These are like feathering a little bit. The front, not as bad, but a little. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is swap sides, and then see how that goes. Need to change spark plugs, and then that's about it. So I was out doing some testing in Mexico, and hopefully found a problem. At the last race, at the top of the track, the car got super loose and then hit the rev limiter. You know, you could come out and help. So, car got super loose, hit the rev limiter. Then I was testing in Mexico and basically did the same thing. It felt like it hit neutral and did it a couple of times. Figured out there has to be something going on in the front end, the way things were feeling. And then started messing around and it seemed like one of these front axles was loose. So Marcus, come here, check this out. See these balls here?
Yeah.
They go into this cup. See, the ball would slide in here and then it catches this. What do you think would happen if you're missing one of those?
It would wobble.
Yep, it would wobble and probably maybe even have a chance to skip in here. So there's the other one. Interesting. Think we can fix it?
I don't know.
So fixing the CV axle did not fix the problem, although I'm sure it didn't hurt to fix it. It still is like kind of catching in and out of four-wheel drive when driving around, and then it can actually, you know, if you give it a lot of gas, it'll actually just straight up kick out and all to the rear instantly and then spin. So what I'm going to do is I have a spare diff that was different gearing. I'm going to tear into that and see how things work. All right, this is nasty, but actuator in there, fork, collar, and then that does something. Let's see. And then the axle. And then obviously CV axle goes into there. All right, so after investigating a little further, I think you guys probably already figured this out. If I just weld these two together, I'll be full-time four-wheel drive. I won't be able to, so driving around normally without the actuator, moving the fork, this is just spinning independent. So this is the wheel side, axle side, and wheel side can be independent, can do a two-wheel drive burnout, less binding driving around, all that good stuff. Then the actuator presses on the fork, which moves the collar, locks these in, and then you're in four-wheel drive. So if I just weld these together, thanks Ethan for the idea, then I'll be full-time four-wheel drive all the time with still an open front diff, so it still can spin one side or the other. So if I'm going this route though, then eventually a limited slip differential up here and can do lots of traction and four-wheel drive burnouts. So that's might be what I do. So I'm thinking about welding this now and then have this ready, take that one out, see what it looks like, and swap this in. Or I could be even smarter, take that out, see if something's broken, and then I have like spare stuff. Because this could be stripped a little bit. The fork could be broken and not moving and holding it where it needs to be. So I think there's various things that could be causing this to not hold all the time. So it is kind of weird that it doesn't take much engagement. So it's possible this could like push too far maybe. I don't know. There's a stop on here. So what pushes out. I don't know. I suppose it's possible. But fun, gotta take that all apart, get the diff out so I can check it out. But this came apart really quickly. So that's, you know, good to know. Well, came out this morning and wondered why it smelled so bad in here. Oh man, I guess there was a lot more gear oil in that than I thought. That's gonna be a mess to clean up. Ugh. And I still gotta get under here and get that one out and work on this. So I got the old one out, have that torn apart, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. So only a little bit of wear on the fork, nothing on this collar, no chipped teeth, nothing. So some reason under load, it's not staying engaged. So it must not be engaging all the way to start with. And there's really not much engagement. If it's perfectly centered, it's only like 0.35 inches on each side. So not much at all. And so if it's only on a little bit, it could, with bouncing around, come loose. So the only reason it wouldn't be on all the way is if it like kind of stuck and the actuator wasn't able to push all the way, or if for some reason this isn't pushing all the way. And that's about it. This can get bound up. Whoops, this fork could get bound up potentially inside of here. But there's no scuffing, no roughness on either one of these. I don't see anything that was like really binding up. It's possible just swapping out one of these, maybe it's weak or stuck and not going out all the way. I could test it pretty easily. But it just makes me a little bit nervous when there's a really big race coming up. So the way to make sure it doesn't happen is to weld it. So I could have just welded the gears together, but then you're relying on the weld. So I decided to use what's already there. It's a little warm yet, and just welded the collar to it. It's welded underneath there somewhere too, a couple spots. So now it can't go anywhere because the locking collar ring, whatever, is on there. And then this goes into the diff. It's splined. And then, and there's nothing going on here. It's not rounded, chipped, or anything. No issues there. And then this side goes to the CV axle. So that's how this thing works. It's pretty cool, actually. It's just like a manual transmission without a synchro. So that's why you're supposed to stop before, because otherwise this is going to be rotating from the wheel. This is going to be rotating. And then you try to slide this on. It may slide on, it may not. But same thing with unsliding it. In theory, you should be able to just unslide it while driving. But if it binds up at all, it's going to get pissed off. So that's about it. I'm just going to let that cool down, put it all back in here. And then the unfortunate thing is it's full-time four-wheel drive with an open front diff. So not only can I not do a burnout, if I try to do a four-wheel drive burnout, one front tire is going to spin and the other isn't. And so probably going to have to skip burnout altogether at the track and no prep stuff unless I do a limited slip up front. And then the other problem is lots of binding up probably. So I have a spool in the rear. I'd really like to swap that out there's a limited slip in that one. It's just not going to happen this weekend. So If I do a limited slip back there and a limited slip up front, it's still locked in between, but maybe just a little bit of limited slip action front and on the front and on the rear might keep things from binding up so much driving around, and then allow four-wheel burnout. So we'll see. But yeah, this is not ideal. I really liked having the kind of selectability, but if it's coming loose at 125, 130 miles an hour and then shoots all the power to the rear when I might be turned one way or the other because of the four-wheel drive, sketchy. So that's what happened at the last outing, and that's what happened on the in Mexico on some test runs. So not good. Not gonna play with that. So all right, put it back together, and then hopefully the next time you guys are following along, it'll be at the track.
Wah, bah, bah,